A good Erev Yom Tov, everyone. If you yet, maybe on the West Coast, if you yet listen to this shir before Yom Tov, remember to make an Erev Tavshilin. This segment, which is called For the Shabbos Table, has been made possible by a generous grant from the Rubin family. And they ask us to please daven that they should be Zeicha to a Ben Zachar. We thank them for their incredible kindness, and also in their schus of thousands of people watching this shir, they should be zeicha, that they should have a ksiva v'chasima taiva mesuka. As we learn on this last day of the year, a year that we chap as many schusim as we can, we learn to be mekayim the mitzvah v'dibarta bam la'asa isnachas ruach liyotzreinu. You know, as we are mamish at the very tail end of Elul, Reb Shlomo Mabavav said a unique acronym of Elul. He said Elul stands for Echad La'oila ve'Echad L'chatas. And that sums up really the avodah as we head into the beginning of the Aseret Yimei Shuva and the new year. And that is that some people, when they do tshuva, they have to work on la'oila, on raising themselves up, on doing more mitzvahs and doing better mitzvahs. And then there are people that they have to clean the stains and they have to get rid of the sins that they do. And indeed, the Gemara tells us both of these objectives. The Gemara says in Roya Adam sheyisurin ba'an olav, if somebody sees that suffering comes upon him, the Gemara says Yafash veish b'ma'asav, let him check his deeds, let him see what he has to clean up. Right? Maybe he's being mitzar people. Maybe he's not saying Kriya Shema Bismanai. Maybe he's looking at things that he shouldn't be looking at. Maybe he's talking in shul. Then the Gemara says, Ista Amrei Yamashmeish b'masav. He should feel what he does. That means the good things that he or she does, and feel them for imperfections. You know, what can I do better? You know, can I make a bracha better? You know, when I eat my Shabbos food, could I focus on, better things, not just the hana of my stomach? So that would be the echad la'oila, on uplifting. Now, when it comes to removing stains and removing sins, the echad l'chatas, I want to mention something that I saw in Rav Chaim's Sefer, published by Rav Steinman's son on Shuva. Rav Chaim said that someone asked the Chazon Ish, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Schusi Yagan Aleinu, what is the highest level of accomplishment that a person can reach in this life? And if you would, think of a collection of answers to this question, and I could think of, several possible, plausible answers to this question, the Chazon Ish's answer really surprised me. The Chazon Ish said that the zenith and the pinnacle of a successful life is to live a life without causing anyone any pain. It's really astounding statement of the Chazon Ish. What's a successful life? Living a life where we don't cause other people pain. And when I saw this, it dawned on me, I connected the dots, that when they asked Rav Moshe, in what merit did you live long? So what did Rav Moshe answer? Man ganz Leben hab ich keinmal nicht getan weit zu a Menschen. My whole life I didn't cause another person pain. Exactly the same nekuda. It's really very fascinating. I mean, this is, Rav Moshe, who when somebody slammed the door accidentally of a car on his hand, he didn't show it in order not to make the person feel bad. Or when somebody, Ramesh used to write with a fountain pen, and he had a shas, a very favored shas, in MTJ by his desk, and somebody caused the ink to spill on the shas, and Rav Moshe chuckled at him when the person looked at in horror. Rav Moshe chuckled and says, "It looks good with a little blue." So this is the man who never caused anybody pain. This is what the Chazon Ish says is a central focus of our life. I mean, he says more than a central focus. He says it's the pinnacle of accomplishment. It's interesting because when they asked Rabbi Yaakov B'meharachta Yamim the same question, Rabbi Yaakov said he never told a lie and he tried not to hurt someone. So again, we see that emphasis on not causing another person pain as being a very, very important focus of life. And it's, it also stems with the idea that we find Hamal b'mtei chaveiro v'rabim ein lo chelik lo l'mabas, such a grievous punishment for causing somebody mortal embarrassment and pain. Rav Steinman says over a frightening story. He says that there was a shul that had a chosheва bal shachris on Rosh Hashanah, very chosheva bal shachris, and he doesn't say, I don't want to say that he had a chazak. He said he davened for, a few years. I would imagine that he was already a mulzik in the position of being the bal shachris. Anyway, the year in question, this man took a job in a place that was controversial. Now, Rav Steinman doesn't specify. It would seem to me that he took a job in a modern place where, the rabbis didn't favor that institution. We're not talking about something prohibited, but they didn't favor it. And there were some people that didn't like it at all. And one of the people in the shul thought that he was not deserving to daven for the Yamid. With taking such a controversial position, he was not deserving to daven for the Yamid. So on Shachris, the Chazan starts to say and chant Hamelech from his seat. While this Chazan was getting ready, someone instead started saying Hamelech and walked up to daven. And the man who davened all those years cried and wept in shame. And Rav Steinman said that he believes that the person that went up to daven for the Amid in a righteous protest, and Rav Steinman says the person was an Erlich Talmud Chacham, died that year. Because to cause a person tsar and busha like that is a very lethal and deadly thing to do. So when we're talking about removing stains, when we're talking about the Baba Rebbe's Echad L'Chatas, we should remember that causing people distress and pain is a real big no-no and really needs to be ferreted out. And this is very important in the arena of marriage, because if anybody knows how to get under a person's skin and cause them irritation and distress, it's a husband or a wife. And we have to know, especially with a woman, Dimasa Mitsuya, her tears are ready, it's a very dangerous business. Also, it's important not to cause a parent pain. We even learned from a guy, Dama ben Nasina, that he gave up $600,000 because the key to the chest that had the gem that the Kohanim wanted was under his father's pillow, and he didn't want to wake up his father. To cause a father pain, even a guy understood that. So again, when we're talking about causing someone pain, then Kal V'Chaimer, Ben Benai Shel Kal V'Chaimer, we're talking about not to cause a parent a pain. Now, what about the echad la'oila? What about bettering ourselves? In the arena of bettering ourselves, so the Heilige Rishon Rebbe, Zech Tzadik Livracha Schus Yagan Aleinu, says from a pasuk that we say, those that say the long Kiddusha Rabbah on Shabbos, it's a pasuk that we say in Kiddusha Rabbah, Im toshiv mishabos raglecha, if you withhold your feet on Shabbos, that means you don't run on Shabbos, you don't do your own pursuits, you don't open up the paper and look at what the Dow Jones is doing, b'yom kachi. But the Rishon Rebbe said that this refers to Shabbos Shuva, also homiletically. Im toshiv mishabbos, if you start doing tshuva already from Shabbos Shuva, you don't wait till the last minute to Yom Kippur. On what are you going to do tshuva? On raglecha, on what you do out of hergel, what you do by rote, what you do mitzvahs anoshim limuda without any feeling. If you do tshuva, im toshiv mishabbos of raglecha, on what you do by rote, then then Hashem will do your desires b'yom kachi on Yom HaKadosh and give you a chasima and give us a chasima l'tayva. This idea not to do our mitzvahs robotically, because listen, that's the way we are. If we do something, we do the same formula every day, day in and day out, the same ashiyotzer. It ends up we say it without thinking about what we're saying. We make a shahakal near bidvar, we end up swallowing it with the words, with the water. You know, we make our ashreis and our aleinus. How many times a person say aleinu and he never gives a thought of what he's saying? And the reason, of course, is because it's done so often, right? So it says the Heilige Rishna, in Toshev Mishabbos, if you start doing tshuva already from Shabbos Shuva, in what? In Raglecha, in trying to break through the haze of regularity and to try to inject new meaning in our tefillin, in our tzitzis, and even putting on our yarmulke, in our mezuzah, in our Shmiras Shabbos, to give it more feeling. And by the way, Raglecha is not only a mitzvah. Raglecha is in our relationship with our wife. It's the same old wife, the same old husband. It's like, it's nothing special. Our generation wants newfangled. Every 2 years you got to get a new car, right? You got to get a new item. What's new? The women go and they see, they want to know what's trending now, right? They can't wear old stuff. It has to be what's new. The husband, the wife is not new. Right? Im toshiv mishabbos raglecha. If we learn how to behave with that which we're accustomed with. So it's interesting that Reb Chaim, when he talked about tshuva, he said how important it is to inject simcha, happiness, in the mitzvahs that we do. And by the way, this is a very important thing for chinuch, for children, for grandchildren, that they should see that it's not a burden, that we shouldn't krechs. Such a long way to shul. What a long slichus. Right? That's not doing the mitzvahs with simcha. That doesn't bring it to the next generation. We know that it says before the teichecha, takas asher lo yavadta es Hashem Elokecha b'simcha. Because when you don't do things with joy, then it doesn't pass over properly to the next generation. And when you don't do something with joy, then it's not quality work. I was told by a recruiter that recruited for a very big company that one of the things he looks for when he selects someone is to see if he enjoys his work. Because if you enjoy your work, then you do a better job. Then you do a quality job. And that's what it says, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. serve Hashem with happiness. So when we're talking about Im Toshim Mishabes Raglecha, to get rid of the hergel, one of the big points is to get rid of the doldrums and to do things b'simcha. When we do things b'simcha, then it's done much better. You know, the Satmar Rebbe, said an interesting mashal about Shuva. He says, two people were standing at the bottom of an escalator. Yeah, in those days, Friedrich Satmar Rebbe, they already had escalators. There were wooden escalators too, but they had escalators. So he says, two people, Reuben and Shimon, were standing by the bottom of the escalator, and a minute later, Reuben is on the top and Shimon is still on the bottom. Why? Because Reuben took one step. He put one step on the escalator and got to the top. Shimon didn't take that one step. Says the Satmar Rebbe, when we're talking about doing tshuva, he says at least take one step. Make one Kabbalah. One Kabbalah. That's, you know, Rabbi Elimelech Biederman says something over from his father that his father did a few months before he passed away. Somebody met Rabbi Biederman, Rabbi Elimelech Biederman's father, in the summer of 2001. And you know already that summer, you know, it was close to Elul. And Rabbi Biederman asked the man, so what were you makabel for Yom Tov? What new Kabbalah? So the man wasn't, but he thought quick on his feet, and he said that he's going to go to mikveh every morning. And indeed, Rabbi Biederman had then passed away before Yom Adin, but indeed, he started going to the mikveh every day. The morning of 9/11, that year was 9/11, he had set out to Manhattan, to his office in the Twin Towers, and he remembered he didn't go to the mikveh. So he said, okay, I don't have to bat 100. But then he said, no, a commitment is a commitment. He turned back to Borough Park and he went to the mikveh. You guessed it. By the time he went back, the planes already hit and his life was saved. That's the benefit of one Kabbalah. Or the Artscroll put out a Pirush on the Zera Shimshon on Tillim. And my Rebbetzin, who bought the Sefer and was reading it, actually showed me this story. There was a man who made a Kabbalah, that he's going to wash his hands every tefillah before davening. It's brought down, you should wash your hands before davening. But he never did it. So he made a Kabbalah, he's going to wash his hands before davening. And one day, they lived in Eretz Yisrael, his wife asked him to take her to they have a separate beach for women in Eretz Yisrael. So she said, what are you going to do while I go swimming? So he said, you know what, I'll run. He ran for exercise, I'll run. So he dropped off his wife, he started running, and a little while later they called, they needed a minyan for mincha, a group of people, and he was very, very delighted because this would fit into his schedule. He had to go pick up his wife. So he said, sure. But then he realized that he didn't wash his hands. So he said, okay, it's an exception. But then he said, no, there's a river nearby. And he got a keli, and he went to the river, and he went to wash. As he put his hand in the water, he felt a hand. And he thought he was dreaming, but he felt a hand. He pulled out a child. Child had fallen into the water and lost her footing. And he was a Hatzalah member. He knew exactly what to do, and he got her to cough up the water, and he brought her back to life. She was already turning blue. Because of his commitment, it led to him saving a life. That's the benefit of a Kabbalah, a little Kabbalah. You know, I just spoke to a very fine young man who told me that he needs a sophisticated phone for his business, but he made a decision, he made a Kabbalah this year, he got himself a separate flip phone. And his business phone stays in the car and he doesn't have it with him the rest of the day. He says that Kabbalah is changing his life. He doesn't need to have that phone with all its distractions, with all its messages with him the whole day. I want to share with you one more thought about Shuva. You know, this gives me an opportunity, although many of you might not hear this till after Rosh Hashanah and Shabbos Shuva. That's okay, this is a share for the whole year. But I want to thank again our sponsor, Reb Reuben and his wife. I want to thank all of you for viewing these shiurim and listening to these shiurim, and wish all of you like a wonderful year. When we talk about the avodah of tshuva, change is never easy. But one of the big challenges of change is it's hard to change because when you do so, those that are near you say, "What happened? Why are you all of a sudden doing this? Why are you all of a sudden doing this?" And you have to admit, well, until now I was wrong. And that's very embarrassing. You know, that holds back people from doing tshuva. Because people say, "Oh, what's going on over here? What's happening?" You know, the women who start covering their hair, and people say to them, "Oh, all of a sudden, what happened?" There are a lot of examples of this. You know, I remember there was a bungalow colony where they had a mechitza, and the mechitza was a kosher mechitza. But there was bungalows that were 2 stories, and from the 2-story bungalows you could see. And I tried to get them to change, but to change means that they're admitting that until now they did it wrong. And that's very hard. And I believe this might be, I never connected the dots, but I believe this might be the pshat, where it says, "Kala isa aveira umisbayish," whoever does an aveira and is embarrassed, moichel loy al kol avinosav. Now, why the connection of a sin to embarrassment? Generally, you know, you did the sin, and what's the answer is that by doing tshuva, you're embarrassed, because you got to admit that you were wrong. And that strength, that level of sincerity, that you're willing to be embarrassed to do what's right, that brings mechilas havainas. May be the will of Hashem that Hashem should give us a year where we have good health, no worries, no distractions, sweet shalom bayis, nachas from children, easy parnasa, the menuchas hanefesh, so that we should be able to learn together. We should be able to learn and add to our learning and add to our chesed. Thank you for joining us. And Ksiva v'chasima toiva u'mesuka.